Well, I think we're live, but it just hasn't popped up on the iPad and the iPhone
I think
yet.
so, yeah, exactly. We're looking here.
Yeah, we're looking.
Can you refresh yours? Is yours there?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
As soon as we get this thing figured out, we will be
Yeah.
sharing to all of our friends.
We are on, so we
Okay.
can share. We're going to share and we'll be right with you. We're making sure all our viewers from all our pages can see this. We're hiring for this position, by the way. Doesn't
Yes,
pay anything.
actually, we would love it.
Dial triple your salary from mine. 0. Oh gosh. Let's see here. I got Carla.
Oh, here we go. This.
Okay.
Down here.
Sounds good.
I'm looking for the share button, but I haven't found it yet.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. And now I need to turn this down a little bit because you want to get feedback.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the show. Did you get to share where you wanted, Scott?
I'm good.
He's good.
You're good.
He's sharing with you today.
I'm good.
Welcome to Around Town TV. My name is Carla Berline, and I am thrilled to have Scott Beman and Diana Pierce with me on this show. We're going to get into Scott and Di photography and their Wander Without Wi-Fi exhibit and share a little bit more about that. But before we do, those of you probably remember Diana from KARE 11 as an anchor. She also is in the Hall of Fame for the Minnesota's Broadcasters Association, and she also was awarded a Silver Circle honor for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Upper Midwest Emmy chapter. Very involved in the community, both of them are, and they have talents behind and in front of the camera, and we're going to get into that, like I said, a little bit in a little while. But I know a lot of you are excited to see Diana. You're going to meet.
Happy to be here.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and you're going to get to meet Scott.
You're going to wake up.
And I love being in front of the camera.
But you'll see his work, and you're going to understand why he's usually.
Always remember they're the talent. I'm the worker bee.
Yeah, but a good worker bee. So we're going to get into that too, but I know a lot of people are excited to see you, Diana, and a lot of people, I get to see you both every week, but a lot of people,
Because we come and work behind the scenes at your place. It's like, let's make this work for Carla.
and then I do the same for Di
Yes,
and
you
Scott,
do.
or I
They
try,
call
but I
it from our
do.
house.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun learning this whole live streaming
Right.
thing
Yeah.
together, and it's been great. We have our live streaming play dates, if you will, but I do know a lot of people are excited to see you and wondering what is next with Diana Pierce, both literally and figuratively. Can you share a little bit?
Sure, I have a Facebook page. It's called What's Next with Diana Pierce. So I encourage you to check it out. Go search it across the top on Facebook and then go ahead and like. You'll get notifications of when I go live. So my particular broadcast is on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Carlos is at Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. And so my goal with What's Next is for the 50-plus crowd. There's a lot of viewers out there that have questions about what to do when they're retirement age. Have they saved enough money? Do they want to continue working? If they're financially, able to do that, what do they do then with their free time? And so each week I'll have a guest that address different things. So last week we had a gentleman on from SCORE. That's a volunteer organization located throughout the Twin Cities and the rest of the state of Minnesota. He talked about volunteering for small businesses, starting a business, some of the things so they're looking for businessmen and women in the 50 plus and even younger to help some of the millennials and Gen Xers and even Gen Z, start their businesses. And so we talked at quite length for that. Prior to that, we had Patty Peterson join me. Patty's a great friend. This is National Heart Month, and so she had a cardiac event. So we talked about that and how important it is for women to get their hearts checked. So those are the types of things that we're interested in. This Thursday night, we're going to be featuring our photo exhibit. So Scott Beeman and myself have Wandering Without Wi-Fi. And so we're in front of just one of the walls that's covered with our photos, and we have about 50 photos.
About 50.
here.
There's about 50
Yeah.
pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that next, but thank you for sharing, what is next and what you've been doing, and we're going to share even more of what they both have been up to together, which is truly amazing. But before we do, feel free to comment, ask questions, maybe share a memory or share some of your experiences with us as well. We've got a few people saying, hey, girls, looking good. Well, what about Scott? He's looking good too.
He swift up.
I
He
worked
took
on
an
my-
hour.
And
I
did.
worked on my hair especially. For
Yes,
that
he
picture.
did. He had a hairdresser. I could actually do hair like that. Very nice job. Congratulations on your awards. Didn't know you had them. So nice to hear. Very talented. Absolutely.
Thank you, David. Appreciate
Yes.
that.
And Jeffrey Cobes gave us a smiley face. Colleen Braun said, so cool. And we've got quite a few people that have tuned in. So for those of you who are just tuning in, my name is Carla Berlin, along with, it's got Beman or
Beeman.
Beeman. I've called him Beman all this, well, now I got it right. I read on
Like
air.
little beams.
Like bee.
Sorry. I've been called a lot worse.
And those of you who never would recognize Diana Pierce, of course. And we're here at the Maple Grove Arts Center. And we're going to get into Scott and Di Photography. Has over 50
Pieces.
pieces
up on the
here.
wall
And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But for those who don't know, it's called Wander Without Wi-Fi. Tell them a little bit about what Wander Without Wi-Fi is, and then we'll get into a little bit about your pieces.
Well, this started a couple of years ago, and actually right after I retired from Channel 11, and we had been talking about, some of the things that we wanted to do when it came to travel. We had already been, Scott's an excellent photographer, and I encourage him to take it maybe a little more seriously. And then we've taken classes from some of our mentors here in the Twin Cities. But then once I came off the air at Channel 11, we purchased an RV. And so we started to travel. And so a lot of what you will see when you come up here on Thursday night, that's a public opening, a reception night, is some of the things that we took. So how did we come up with the Wander Without Wi-Fi title?
Well, pretty much what happened was we go out for months at a time. And when we're out, we've become enamored with the national park system that we have. And, we watch Ken Burns' documentary on it too often, too many times.
We have it memorized.
We've been stalking a couple of the players on it at different parks we've gone to and met them, and they were very kind and gracious. But basically what we do is we'll go for months at a time sometimes. We're fortunate that we can do that. We're fortunate that we can decide if we want to, when we're ready to go home, we can still be out for 2 more weeks working our way back home from the West Coast. We've driven to Alaska and stayed up there for a while, and that's about an 8-week trip right there. Our first experience with an RV, we jumped in and we did 20,000 miles in 4 months. We hit 22, I think it was, national parks, a few national monuments like natural bridges and some other things. National Monument Valley, which is it's on the Navajo Reservation, so it's theirs because they're a sovereign nation. But yet it's any other way it would be a national park. But there's so much history there just from John Wayne and John Ford and Clint Eastwood and Henry Fonda and all those iconic Western stars that were shot there. So we've been very fortunate in that respect to be able to travel.
And over 4 countries, too.
Right.
Yes.
So let's go. A couple of those countries are things that I went to: Nicaragua, and then also last summer to Mongolia. So we have some of those pictures up as well. And
We're looking at them, and you can't see them, but we're going to share a little bit about that.
Right, because there's a video that when we're done with this interview, Carla, you'll have posted,
Yes.
so you can see some of the items that we've done. So we've shot video in addition to stills. And Tom Cornell, somebody I worked with at Channel 11 for a number of years, video expert, has put all these things together in a 8-minute video. He did a great job of putting all the pieces together.
It really shares their story because a lot of us knew, of course, you in front of the camera, extremely talented, award-winning, but Di is talented behind the camera, isn't she, Scott?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
She sees things that I don't,
Interesting.
that's what makes
I'm your
us.
student.
Yeah. If people believe that. So anyway, what happens is she sees things differently than I do. She has a different eye. And so we complement each other very well when we're doing things like that. I'm more of I plan the shot out and I work it and I see things like that and hike in to do what I need to do. Or in, like the case of these auroras that you're seeing a few of them behind us. I have a place where I go to in Alaska, and when everything comes together, that can be 25 below zero because then there's no humidity and the skies are very clear. Clear night, the aurora's firing, everything comes together, and you can get some incredible pictures up there. But you have to be out from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. Dye's not as big on Alaska in the winter.
No.
Neither am I.
No.
She tends
You
to go.
go for it.
She
I'd
tends
be
to
having
go
a
back
glass of
down.
wine in your RV.
Oh, we can't even take the RV.
We don't take the
up
RV
there.
up there.
Yeah.
No, this is
Okay.
No.
this is it. So anyway, so we're very fortunate in that respect. We've been very lucky, very blessed to be able to do what we do, and as we say, wing it as we go.
Well, what is your history and background in photography? Did it start as a hobby or?
Yeah, I suppose it was until Dye came along into my life. I really never showed anybody anything that I did. I kept it to myself, very private. And, since she's come into my life, for the last 7 years now, there's been these, I wouldn't call them nudges as much as kicks to get things, show my work more. And Dye's gotten very involved in photography also. Her big thing was, one of the funnier moments, I guess. She was a Canon person,
Oh,
and
right.
I'm a Nikon guy. And I explained to her that if she got rid of her Canon, she could have use of all these other lenses
Right.
that we
And
have.
then the light bulb went on. Oh, I don't have to make the investment.
So
Except a camera,
we
like
have-
a camera.
We have friends that are, some of our friends are Canon shooters, some of them are Nikon shooters, and people that shoot know that there's always that back and forth, and it's, there's really no difference between the two. I mean, there's subtle differences, but they're both very, very good. So
Well,
there's
until
the
you
joke.
said that, I was going to say a good analogy is for sports, the Vikings against the Packers, but they're not the
No,
same.
it's not the same.
That's not the same.
No, you don't want to go there. I think that's
Well, you can get into a heated debate between Nikon and Canon people, but there you go.
That's another
It's okay.
story.
Yes.
So,
That's
you
another
know,
episode.
we're going to be showing that 8-minute video after this live show is done, but for those who want to maybe come to the exhibit, let's talk about, it's open till March 23rd, right here at Maple Grove Arts Center, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It'll be a cut down version. This week is the full version with about 50 pieces. And after there's an event on Thursday night that's
Open to the public. Yeah, 6:30
And
until 9.
Then after that, there'll be some pieces, some of it's going to come down and we'll leave some pieces here till March 23rd. And
Okay.
there might even be some of them on a rotational basis, we haven't decided yet. But the entire 50 pieces won't be here that entire time. So if you want to see all 50 pieces from the national parks that we have personally visited, 23 out of 59 so far.
Hope to see more.
And we have plans for the summer to see some more, summer and fall.
So we're excited about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, if somebody sees the video and something catches their eye or they're able to come to this exhibit,
Sure.
are your pieces for sale?
Oh,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, everything's for sale. There's some of the things that we have that's more for the exhibit. We call them environmental portraits,
Portraits.
and there's some things like that. Anybody wants to buy them, that's fine, but
Right. Everything's for sale.
everything's for sale.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, that tends to be more representational of some of the people that we've met along our travels.
Yeah, because we've met some interesting people on the road. Everything from this one couple from Brazil who are literally driving their 1947 rebuilt Willys Jeep from Brazil around the world, literally shipping it in certain areas
So
and
cool.
over the oceans and things. But literally, it's a 1947 Willys Jeep that he rebuilt from the ground up and turned it into it's got the tent on top that folds out. I mean, name it. He's thought it out really well. And the only problem, there's certain things they didn't quite understand, like the problem with bears in Alaska. They have to be, little things.
Just a small thing.
Small things.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've run into some real interesting people. some people from Europe who travel in Unimogs, and if anybody...
It was in Death Valley.
Yeah, Death Valley, and in Denali, up in Denali
Oh, yeah,
National
that's
Park.
right.
And they're around, so Unimogs and Unicats they're called. If anybody wants to look those up, they're very interesting, and if you want to pull them up on YouTube, it's even more interesting.
Really?
So,
Well, that's, and it's great. I'm glad a few people gave you the nudge because I had no idea of your talents. And then we have mutual friends that are extremely talented artists as well. And I know they also gave you the push, as
Right.
did,
Yeah.
or kick, as did Di. And I'm so grateful to be a part of your launching of this exhibit because I can't even fathom, I hear the stories and that you share and I see the work that's gone into this. And I'm pointing because I'm looking at a variety of pictures.
All of our
and it's
work
just-
is surrounding
gives
us,
me
at
the
least in
chills.
this room, and
Yeah.
then we've got
Right.
2 other rooms besides.
there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
What is a story or a person you've met that has impacted you on your travels?
One of the pictures I have, well, I actually have 2 pictures that are really interesting for me. As a journalist, I've been able to tell people stories through the years, but I never had language as a barrier. And so I've run into 2 situations where all I could do was basically point at them, point at my camera, and motion like I wanted to take a picture of them. So I have 2 images that are up here that are, for me, almost kind of emotional. One of them is an elderly Nicaraguan man. And so I was traveling with a group from Augsburg. We were working on our masters, and one of the things was to go to a country and kind of experience leadership in a different culture. And so we were up early, we were taking, and just kind of walking around this town square. Well, we were right next to the chapel, the cathedral. And this gentleman just kind of came at the last second. The bells were ringing. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. He was on his way to mass.
Wow.
And he was
He didn't want to be late.
he had an appointment. But I just kind of tapped him gently on the shoulder and kind of pointed at my camera, hoping that he would pause for a moment. I got 2 pictures off. That was it. And then he was on his way. But you can just see kind of like a wisdom, the ages. He had seen so much. He clearly had worked on a farm. His skin was just that dark brown from being outside, So, and he had kind of his little cowboy hat or like a little Stetson hat on, and his work shirt. And so that was just a personal moment. I was so grateful just for that, because it was like, oh, he's just this great, character, great face. The second one was then last summer. I was with my girlfriend. We went to Mongolia, and we had joined this areas Nadam races. That's where the men and some women will compete with horseback riding races, and they had archery, and they had tug of war and horses and a few other things. But this little boy was waiting for his turn on his pony, and so he's in the same thing. He's been outside. His face is sunburned. I mean, like peeling sunburned. And he just kind of had that acknowledgement of me with the camera, and he was okay with it. What we were doing. But what is so cute is he has a kid sticker on his face, and he also has fingernail polish on. So here he is. He looks like a Mongol, as I call a Mongol warrior in training. So he's waiting to take his turn, but he's such a kid. It was so great to have that moment. Again, no language. We didn't have a common language, but it was just a moment, and I was just happy to take that picture.
And that you were able to get that. Now, aren't both those pictures on your Scott and Di photography page?
They're on the page, but they're actually
They're
They're here at the
They're on
exhibit.
there, yeah.
So, for those of you just tuning in, my name is Carla Berline, along with Scott Bayman. Right, I said that right this time. And Diana Pierce, and
we've known each other for a long time. So.
Yeah, and we are at their Wander Without Wi-Fi exhibit that opens Thursday evening to the public in Maple Grove at the Maple Grove Arts Center. A few of you have been posting. O'Neill Hampton said, "Hi, my friend Lady Di."
I know. Hi, O'Neill.
Hi, O'Neill.
Yeah.
And then Colleen Braun, I'm excited to see the video. Oh my God, 4 months in an RV together. sure. Yeah.
And it's a 25-foot RV, so
Yes.
it's not like a van
Right.
down by the river. It's a little bit bigger than that, but.
It's not a big, huge
But it's
Class
not,
A.
it's not the 40-footers that you see out there?
The national parks have, a lot of the national parks have length
Limits,
limits,
restrictions
yeah.
even.
And the 25-foot was kind of it.
Mhm.
It's for a lot of the parks, not all of them, but for
Right.
a lot of them. So
Yeah.
that's why we wanted to stay within that guideline, so we
Right.
could get into and stay in the national parks. To us, that's just more, it's a little more primitive. There's not always the hookups and things.
Right,
But,
rarely.
but ours is set up, we have solar panels, we have generators, we have, we can go off the grid. We've been off the grid for as long as 7 days.
Wow. How
Up in
nice.
That
the
means
Yukon.
not plugged in, so.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no Wi-Fi, no
Anything.
phone, no pool, no
Again, wandering
pets,
without
no.
Wi-Fi.
Yes,
We do
that's
take
the name.
The dog comes with us,
Yeah.
so
Right.
the dog comes with us.
Oh, I
but,
love your
Mhm.
dog. Well, and did I tell you the mallard story of my mom?
I don't think
So my parents have a couple friend that's retired, and I know both my mom and dad are watching. Hi, Mom and Dad. But they were talking about their RV, and but my mom didn't realize that. They were talking about they travel, and we had just said we take our dog up north and blah blah blah. And then they said their response was, "Oh, we take our mallard here, we take our mallard
Oh.
there, all over the country." And my mom, not realizing because she's not a camper, an RV person,
Yeah.
she said, "That's so nice. You bring your bird everywhere."
There's a couple ways to go on that one.
I know. So, and Fiona did say, your pictures truly have 1,000+ words. Hi, Di. Hi, Scott. Looking
Hey, Fee.
forward to seeing your stories. Diana, of course, posted for those who maybe haven't seen. She just said, "Thank you, everyone. I know we all thank you." Buffy Blasey said, "You're very excited to hear about your journey and see some of your work. And of course, I love you both, and Diana." And for those who are watching, Buffy just bought the Women's Expo, the Twin Cities Women's Expo coming up. So you'll maybe seeing information on her on my show as well. Very excited. Feel free to share some of your stories, comment if you have questions. We're at the Maple Grove Arts Center. They're Scott and Di's Wander Without Wi-Fi. What else could they find when they come here? You've shared some of your stories, but any other?
Well, we've become almost park experts.
Yes, you have.
For a lot of
Well, I don't know
the
about expert,
travels.
but
Well, we
we're-
kind of know some of the ins
But
and outs.
we've learned a lot.
Right, and,
Yes.
and we can tell you there's differences between pit toilets and
And flush.
flush toilets,
Who knew?
and also showers. And when we stayed at the Grand Canyon, I think it cost me, was it $6.25 for a shower? But at that particular point, I was happy to take anything I could. So some parks will offer that to the campers, obviously. Some parks, you might get a pit toilet, period. Up in Alaska, in Denali, that's all we got. And part of that, and we had to be very, very careful about how you had food in your RVs.
Well, that's
and
there, hard side only.
Right.
We camped out in, they call it camping. My daughter says it's not because it's an RV. But,
It's not. It's a home on wheels.
yeah,
A living
and just
room
for the
on wheels,
record,
yeah.
it does have a shower,
Mhm.
a shower stall, and running water, hot water, everything. She just chooses to go to the other ones. We have, as they say,
I'm
indoor,
sampling.
we have indoor plumbing, the whole
Gathering
everything,
knowledge.
all kinds of goodies, So that's her choice to go there, so, and everything, but, where was I going with this?
Oh, I'm not quite sure, but we were talking about the differences
Yeah.
between pit toilets and
Yes.
things like that.
Oh,
Now-
about up in Denali and things, so.
Yeah. Now, when I went to Mongolia, I did stay in a tent with my girlfriend, and we had no hot running water there. So, shower was go to the local stream and
Right.
take a little, pitcher with you and pour it over your head, and then that was it. That was your thing. However, it got quite cold there, so after a couple of days, it's like, no, I don't smell anything because we can't. We're too
It's
cold.
frozen. The odor is frozen. I have a couple
It's
questions.
the old rule of, if you both smell the same way, it cancels it out.
I love it. Buffy asked, what was the most challenging part of the trip, and how did that impact the type of photos you were able to capture?
Sometimes it was weather.
Weather's tough, sometimes. Customs was tough.
Oh, yeah.
Believe
Yeah.
me. Coming into the country, coming back
Yeah.
into the United States
It's
is
harder
far more
than-
difficult
yeah, than
than
going
going
into
into Canada. Figure that out, you know. But anyway, yeah, it's much tougher, much more difficult to get back
Yeah,
in.
they're very picky about the type of produce you bring back in from Canada into the United States.
Well, and it
Don't
depends
ask me
on where
about
you're
why
at.
they want different apples. I don't know. Weird.
If you cross at Minnesota into going to Winnipeg, there's really not a lot of problem. Apples is the big thing.
There's weird.
But if you're out in crossing over in Montana or western North Dakota, potatoes are the big thing.
And bell peppers.
And bell peppers.
What
so,
the heck?
But yeah, and if they're cut up and peeled, then that's one thing, and it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You
It's
always,
like,
Oh my
You
yeah,
God.
they
just
want to
always
know,
have to-
how long have you had those bell peppers? It's like, why do you want to know?
What do you think's in there?
Yeah.
I have another question. Fiona wrote, which do you prefer, in front or behind the camera?
Depends on, thank you, Fiona, we appreciate it. Love you, hug you.
Yes.
Both actually for me. I've, obviously been in front of the camera for many years, but there's a creative part behind the camera that is a lot, it's a lot of fun too. So you get to see nature, you capture nature right at that particular moment. It will never be just like that ever again, because time is always changing, weather patterns always change. And so, that's so very gratifying that when we see things like this. You'll never see this again. That was that one time that moment in time, right?
You'll see it, but never the same pattern.
What about you? Do you like being in front or behind the camera?
Yeah, there you go.
We all know the answer to that one. No, I'm a behind the camera person.
Yeah.
This is very rare for me to be in front of the camera. In fact, it's the second time I've avoided it.
Yeah, he has.
I avoid it like it's.
Oh, get used to it. You'll be in front of the camera more.
A lot. Well, and that's thus Scott and Di photography, because if you...
You probably take more pictures than I do.
I always remember,
Well.
she's the talent, I'm the worker.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good.
They both, well, you never let grass grow under your feet, and I know you very busy traveling and taking pictures as well. James Hernandez wrote, that would be so much fun, RVing to all the parks. I agree.
And we have a lot of company there.
Yeah.
We've seen lots of people in tents, but we see more people in all types of RVs. So some are pickup trucks, some are the big rigs, some of the
Right.
littler ones. When we were at Grand Canyon, we saw all different sizes. When we were in Yosemite, we also saw all different sizes out there. But we had a group of rowdy guys right next to us. They were having their weekend up at
Boys'
Yosemite. It was Halloween.
Oh,
so-
that one too, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about
Funny.
the bachelor party in Joshua Tree.
Oh,
That was,
yeah.
Or
that
no,
was
that was not Joshua Tree, that was
up in
outside
Utah.
Capitol Reef.
Reef.
Outside
Yeah.
Capitol Reef.
Yeah.
That's a BLM land.
I
Yeah.
have another question from
Yeah.
James. Is there one thing each of you like to take pictures of? Flowers, animals, clouds, etc.
I'm landscape, I don't shoot people, I don't do people, well, I don't
Yeah.
shoot people, but I mean, I
Photograph.
don't photograph
Videograph.
people.
Actually, I've seen some of your people, and you are good at it. You
It's
just
just
choose
not
not to.
something, it's just something I choose not to do. My saying, I probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You don't have to say
I
it.
should say, let's just say I'm better by myself, hiking in someplace, doing, photographing scenery or landscape or wildlife if it's the right thing.
Animals are challenging.
I don't search out animals. When you're out, like when I'm in Alaska quite a bit, and when I'm up there, they do cross my path. Di never sees any because she scares them off, I guess. But they just don't come. When she's up there, they're just not around.
It's
I'm up there,
weird.
I'll see dozens of moose. I'll see, brown bears along the coast. I mean, all kinds of things. And if they cross my path, I'll photograph them. But for the most part, it's landscape, mountains. My favorite place is Denali, Mount Denali, Denali National Park. My auroras are mostly from that area. They always, all the auroras I have, because of the place I go, always has Mount Denali way in the background. So
You're kind of the big landscape guy. You're the big picture guy, as you are in real life, and I tend to be. Well, you are. That's just
That's
it.
a huge
Yeah,
to have that
and I
quality.
tend to be.
Yeah.
I look down. I look to see kind of what's at my feet and around. So I've taken lots of pictures, just kind of looking down. So I have pictures of leaves from Kings Canyon River And that was, I mean, that was just a perfect moment. So
I've tried to do what she does, and it turns out not good. Mine turned out bad.
This is another good question from Fiona. What is the longest period you've stayed in a place to capture that shot?
about a week. We actually
Yeah.
we move on fairly
We move pretty
quickly.
quickly. Typically,
Yeah.
we have a pretty good plan. If the weather's right, we'll stick around. If it's not, we move. I mean, and it depends on the park. It depends on what there is. Just
Right. There was one
that we're after, that we're
yeah.
shooting. Sometimes it's almost like a scouting thing too. It's like, okay, well, we know we're going to do that. Like,
Oh, we'll come back.
yeah, and like we know we've been to Joshua Tree. We probably won't go back to Joshua Tree. It's a great park, but
There were a lot of people there.
a lot of people from LA, and it wasn't your nice quiet types. It was loud.
No.
But we went to Death Valley and loved Death Valley.
The Canyonlands in Utah, there's two parts to that park, sort of like Theodore Roosevelt. There's two parts to that park as well. And we encourage you to go both to the North and South Park of Theodore Roosevelt. But in Canyonlands there are, and when we were in the North Park area,
That's Islands in the Sky.
we had, there was one morning that we were going to be there because that was the morning that we were going to get the sunrise over through one of the arches, and it has a very specific one. And so we're hurry, it's
So
dark,
500 other people.
and we get there and we're the last ones to pull into the parking lot. And when we get there, there's like 50 photographers all lined up, all within a foot of each other to get this shot going through the arch. We just looked at each other and said, not today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Gotta
Yeah.
go.
Gotta
Yeah.
go.
And
Well-
and there was, it found out later, it was free admission to the park that particular day.
Oh,
So everybody
wonder.
and their sister and brother was there. And it's like, I got it.
It's a very iconic shot. It's a
Right.
a lot of people have made that shot famous, so
Right.
everybody goes there, and it's easy to get to.
And we hope
You
they
know.
have ours, but it wasn't part of the,
No,
not part of
wasn't
this
part of the
exhibit,
plan.
no.
You
Yeah.
find that if it's a harder place to get to,
Yeah.
there are fewer people.
Right, so the second part of Canyonlands, the lower part, Needles, is harder to get to, but definitely worth the trip. So we saw very few people at that park. And on our way there, we stopped at a place called Newspaper Rock. Well, I like Indian petroglyphs, and there's over 100 carvings on this rock. Also, we saw, when we do have a picture of this, we passed a place that was called Cottonwood Canyon, and so this is known for climbers to go and practice their climbing in that area.
It's Mecca for climbers.
Yeah, so we have pictures of this threesome. So it was two guys and a gal, and they had ropes and pitons and all kinds of things.
The irony, the thing that made the picture great was the two guys had a few pieces on,
Right.
and the young woman was carrying everything.
Yeah.
And she was like going
Yeah.
for, she was going all out. She was carrying
And
pretty
she's-
much everything, and she was
Yeah, petite.
not a
petite.
very big person
yeah,
at all.
100 pounds dripping wet on her.
And-
Strong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they were,
exactly.
she was more than carrying her weight.
Yeah.
Well, and for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm with Scott Beeman and Diana Pierce, Scott and Di Photography. We're at their exhibit right now, the Wander Without Wi-Fi. And for those of you wondering, well, what is that? Because you've just tuned in, these two have traveled in their RV to over 21 national parks and monuments in over 4 countries, captured these photos, and they're here for sale at an exhibit, but also there's some photos here they're just sharing with you as well. The pieces that you can come and see. It opens to the public Thursday night at Maple Grove Arts Center near Costco. It's
Right.
a good landmark, right?
Right.
Back
Just
to the
across
back.
the street from their gas station parking lot. So if you know where
Yes.
Costco is, or at least you know
Yes.
where their gas station is, that's the area you want to be parking, because that's the entrance to
Oh,
on the
right,
backside.
right. And it's in the strip mall, but on the back of Fountains
Right.
Drive.
So we're right next to Wedding Day Diamonds.
Oh, yes, good
Okay.
landmark.
And Nadia Cupcakes, that's at the other end.
Yes, so right in between, easy to find, easy to get to and park. Come join us, come see their pictures and what they're sharing. Also, when this is done, I am going to post an 8-minute video that tells their story and gives some more detail, because we're not able to take the camera around to show it, or we don't want to take all the pieces off the wall, because it's all set up for you to all come come and see it. If you do have any questions or comments, and I know a few people have, Fiona did write, how long is your exhibit there, and do you plan to take this expo on the road?
Well, it's here through the end of March.
Yeah, here through the March.
Yeah, portions of it.
There's a couple other places in the next, when it's done here, there are pieces that we're gonna move to another venue.
Restaurant.
Yeah, and then
Or
after
restaurant,
that, and then the national parks.
And we'll put that information up on the
We'll put that
Facebook
up
page.
there, and
Yeah,
then-
Scott and Dye Photography you can find on Facebook as well.
Then-
In addition to scottanddyephotography.com.
And then after that, we're gonna be traveling again, so, you know.
Oh, coming up. Where's one of our trips coming up?
Oh, this has nothing to do with national parks, by the way.
Oh.
We're gonna be doing the Bourbon Trail down in Kentucky.
Ooh.
Actually, a lot of American history there. That's the only reason we're going to the Bourbon Trail, is for the historical value. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And there does happen to be,
Nobody sitting here likes bourbon.
there is the Mammoth Cave National Park. That's only an hour from there, so I'm sure we'll get there. But yeah, that should be a good time there. Then we'll be driving to Alaska again after that, and then probably back out to the Southwest. We really enjoy the Southwest, and
Later in the summer, up to Alaska this summer.
we do tend to end up in the wine country every year.
Well, my brother
in the
has a place
fall,
over there, so.
And
So-
nobody here
Kind
likes
of
wine.
east-
If you
No,
pick,
yeah,
if you're
never.
picking up any kind of common thread, it's see Bourbon Trail,
Yeah.
wine country. You know, if we can just get a way to get the motorhome over to Scotland, we can do
Oh,
the
we'll
whiskey
have to
trail.
fly over
over
there.
there.
I'm pretty sure they're not doing that one, so.
Jim Feast shared Needless was awesome.
Needles.
Needles,
Needles,
okay.
that's what they
Yeah,
are.
Yeah,
it
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, okay. And also loved Custer State Park in South Dakota. Seeing Mount Rushmore through the tunnels was great.
We were fortunate enough to actually photograph the Buffalo Roundup. We were in the media group, and we were fortunate to be with that group. So we got the special seating,
Right.
if you can call it that. But so
It is. We
it's-
had front row to the Buffalo Roundup.
Yeah, and we got to go out the afternoon before the actual roundup with a group, and the ranchers, the park folks took us out, and we all did some pictures. And actually, I've got a buffalo head from there.
Oh, wow.
So in a
Yeah,
picture,
close up,
in a
yeah.
picture, in a picture. I don't carry it around with me.
Yeah.
And so we were fortunate on that. So yes, Custer State Park is a really cool place too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colleen Braun wrote, and this would be your cup of tea. You will have to create a coffee table book for us to enjoy.
Well, you'll have to let us know what pictures you want to see, because he's already created a coffee table book of all of his Aurora pictures.
Well,
But
not
we're the
all-
only ones
not
that we
all,
have.
but a bunch. But I haven't showed it to anybody yet.
Yeah.
So,
I saw it.
Yeah, you saw it.
Yes,
You
I
saw
did
it,
get to see
Yeah.
it.
And, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I showed it to people who call me by the wrong last name. So,
Yeah.
so she's
Now, one of the things that we'll have up here on the wall, besides all the information about the pictures, is we'll have a little explanation of the auroras, what causes them, what creates, obviously the solar activity, but in addition to that, what are some of the primary colors that we have a chance to see, and especially if you're up under the dome. Under the dome, which is what you referred to, is the polar cap region. And one of the areas that you always go to is University of Alaska, and they have
it's a website that tells you the frequency. There's also an app that works too, pretty well, but it tells you basically a forecast.
20 days out in advance. though?
It depends. It's the peak times are around the equinoxes,
Yeah.
and so if you can get up, 10, 20 days before and after, you're pretty good there.
So it's on a scale of 1 to 10, and a lot of these
1
are
to
4s and 5s.
1 to 8.
1 to 8, okay, so a
Yeah.
lot of these
Okay.
are 4s and 5s.
They're
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful, and you'll be able to see some of that in the video that they put together. That I will also put that link on this. Once we're done with this, I always upload that as well, so you'll be able to watch that 8-minute video that has some of that in.
So Fiona wants to know, do you have a favorite piece in this exhibit?
Yeah, you'll see it. It's right.
It's
to-
very
it's
large,
to my right.
just to the right.
It's
right
it's a rather large aurora
Aurora.
with my favorite piece of granite in the background, Mount Denali. The thing about the auroras up there, I don't know if I mentioned it, so stop me if I did. But down here, I've tried to shoot the auroras, and they're always on the horizon. Like you go up to Lake Superior, they're on the horizon, and
Boundary waters.
boundary waters, and you get where you can up there. Where I go they come over top of you. They're right overhead. They start at one end and they just work over. And if you go to the video, again, we're not selling this video, by the way. But if you go there, you'll see some time lapse that I've done, and it'll give you an idea of how they move and just the way they kind of come
It's
at you.
amazing.
You know, and you just feel you realize your insignificance in this universe when you're up there under those. At least I do. So.
Yeah, and so I have a couple of pictures from Yosemite, which are my favorite, and you'll be able to see those. But I want to quickly say that Voyageurs National Park is very special to us because it is our state national park. And so we have Christina Hausman joining us on Thursday night, who is a Voyageurs National Park Association Executive Director. And so what we'll be able to do is those who donate towards their Teen Ambassador program will be given a little ticket. And so then we'll shuffle up those tickets, and then some lucky drawing winner will get our eagle picture, which the Voyageurs National Park, or the association rather, has used as a mailer to let people know about some of their events. So this was taken by Scott.
The Minnesota Environmental Water Fund was used. They used
So
it also.
two organizations have used that same picture.
And the Teen Ambassador program, what that does is it takes a child or a young kid that's not normally going to be able to go to a national park and see it,
Right.
and it allows the national park or the association to take that
A group of kids.
That kid.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're going for one kid, but I mean, they try to take a group of them up
Right.
to the national park.
So then they're
so
up
they
there
can
for
see
about
it.
over a week's time.
Yeah, and
so,
they can hang out, and it's a water park, but there's no slides. Well, there are in the houseboats, but that's what makes it great for the kids, because they get out there and
Well, they do a lot of canoeing. They do a lot of tent camping.
Wow.
They kind of learn a return to nature type of program when they're there. So they get an experience that's unlike any other. So that's why we're very excited to have them participate with us as our charity that we're working with to try and get people to have just a little bit more information about national parks. But here, this park is in our state, and this is a program that really benefits teens.
And you'll be talking about that live on What's Next with Diana Pierce Thursday at 7
Right.
p.m. Central Time. So this exhibit will be open until March 23rd, but if you can't come this Thursday when it opens to the public, please tune in live from Facebook at What's Next with Diana Pierce, and I will share it to my page as well. But that way you'll get a little bit more understanding what they're talking about if you're not able to join us. So I have to ask you, that's my favorite. And they can't see it.
They
but
can't see it.
That is my favorite.
that's another one of the large
Yeah,
photos.
yes, very large.
It's Still Pond. That was taken in the Grand Tetons. It's actually Mount Moran. It's the mountain on the right.
On the right.
And then it's not actually, the Tetons are further
Just
to
a
the
little bit
left.
to the left.
They're not in that
Yeah.
one. There are three large peaks. It's a very large piece. And it just happened to be a very still morning. We were on the way to someplace else, driving, and we saw this. We pulled off and we got the shot. And just, sometimes
It's
that's-
the money shot, let me tell you.
Sometimes that's the way it works.
Yeah.
You just got to be kind of like,
We were looking for something else. And so, wait, they're taking, oh, look at that. That's
Yeah,
really
check-
cool.
check
You
that
do-
out.
Yeah, you do have a picture of the Grand Tetons in black and white.
Yes,
So we
yes,
have
we
that,
do.
and you have Half Dome up on the wall as well.
Colleen said, awesome. Chuck Bolton said, looking great, you three. Fiona said, wishing you both huge continued successes, as I do as well. You both have done so much, both behind and in front of the camera. Is there anything else that we should tell our viewers about this Wander Without Wi-Fi exhibit?
Just come on down and check it out.
Have fun.
Maybe-
The
April
national parks are everyone's.
Yeah.
They're not, this is, Yellowstone was the first national park in the world ever, and thanks to Theodore Roosevelt. Yosemite was the first state park, and was actually established prior to Yellowstone, but it was a state park at the time when Yellowstone was a national park, and then Yosemite came under the national park umbrella. So it was the second. So
Yeah,
this
get
is
out, enjoy your parks. They are here for our enjoyment, and so we just encourage everybody to take a little trip, take your kids, make memories with your grandkids.
Right.
It's just so many extraordinary things to see in every direction. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can go north and see things. We can go west, but we can also go south and east to see national parks.
And they have set the parks up so that people in wheelchairs can see some of the areas.
Right.
That people on walkers and that have limited mobility can still see some great parts of the park.
Right.
So it's
Some of the major
well,
parks, so this would be Grand Canyon and Zion, and they have a busing, and Yosemite have a busing system.
Mhm.
And so they really want you to take their busing system, which makes a lot of sense because those are some of the most highly visited parks.
Well, Denali also.
And, oh yeah,
Denali, you cannot
Definitely.
drive, and there's a very good reason
Right.
you can't drive back there.
Right.
That they have bus drivers, believe me. It's yeah.
well, we saw several grizzlies, several, yeah, walking along
Well,
the
they were
side.
by our tent. The campus site we stayed at was actually, we were fortunate to get, it's 15 miles beyond where all of the cars stop. There's a campground. You have to get a special permit, and you have to stay there for X number of days.
And you have to be hard side.
And you have to be hard side, but because of the bear problem. Not problem, but they're there,
Well,
you
yeah.
know. And out there, you are not the top rung of that food chain.
Right.
Always keep that in mind.
Mary Dotzler said, looking forward to seeing you on Thursday in Maple Grove. And where that is in Maple Grove is we are at the Maple Grove Arts Center, right, the parking lot backs right up to the Costco gas station parking lot between Wedding Day Jewelers and Nadia Cakes. This exhibit will be open till March 23rd, but it opens to the public this Thursday evening, where Diana will also do her show, What's Next with Diana Pierce.
It'll be kind of loud in here, I think.
Yeah, it'll be kind of loud in here,
Right.
but we're going to have
Tonight's
fun.
kind of quiet, but
Yes.
with a few people joining us, that'll be great.
And
We encourage
if you want to check out not only watching what we're going to post on our video, but if you want to see the video, you can go to Scott and Di Photography, and they have already posted the 8-minute video that tells the story, gives you a little taste of what you can see.
And we do have a
what they've
website
done.
also,
Yes.
Scott and Di Photography website. The video is not on the website,
Not yet.
it's on Facebook,
Right.
The Facebook page. But the website will give you a little more idea of the photos you'll see. You know.
Well, and Colleen just said, such a neat idea. Thank you so much for sharing. I just accidentally stumbled upon this video, so thank you. You are
Well,
welcome. Like I did all the work. You're welcome. I did. I just was able to drive over here and have them on the show, which I am so grateful to you both for being on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close to the viewers about?
Just thank you for inviting us.
Oh,
Thank you.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Oh.
Thank you for having me in front of the camera. Ha ha.
No, I'm so grateful that we got Scott in front of the camera because this is his baby, and he's the Scott part of the Scott and Di Photography, and always wonderful to work with the talented Diana Pierce. So grateful
Thank
for
you.
and you're going to be seeing us co-hosting the Student Production Awards for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences coming up in April. So we get to play in front of the audience doing that as well. But before that, please come to their exhibit, Wander Without Wi-Fi at Maple Grove Arts Center. It's 11666 Fountains Drive. And opens Thursday night to the public at what time?
6:30.
6:30 till 9.
Great. Well, and I appreciate you tuning in to Around Town TV. My name is Carla Berline, along with Scott Beeman and Diana Pierce. And please join me next Tuesday evening, Central Standard Time, as we have the Nordstrom of Vacuums, Al's Vacuum, will be featured on Around Town. Until then, please join us at the exhibit, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.